In the last 2 years, 27 people died from drug-related deaths. That's a huge number for a small population of 2,000.
We don't want to keep seeing our people die because of drugs and alcohol. You know, our people are hurting.
From the snowy streets of Canada's northern reserves to the tropical waters off the coast of Colombia.
201 6.4.
In the shadow of a fentanyl crisis, cocaine has exploded.
People are going to extremes in order to provide for their family.
And everywhere where you see it, you get more violence.
This is the story of an avalanche gaining momentum, the people being dragged under, and those fighting to slow it down.
No, I'm just tired. I'm tired of this.
Sheshatshiu Innu First Nation is home to 2,000 people, half of them children. Located at the end of Lake Melville in central Labrador, there's one road in and one road out. There's a school here, a handful of police officers, and a steady flow of cocaine.
Cocaine has become a very big problem in our community. It's the drug of choice of young people, it seems. And there's a lot of young people that are involved with cocaine.
Peter and Marianne Panashaway raised 4 kids of their own. 3 struggled with cocaine addiction. Now they're raising their grandchildren too, one who has been with them since birth.
Which ones are your favorite?
I always like the one with the family. The little one always focuses on the family.
One's in jail. The other 2 are in recovery. They both have been to treatments, and there's only one child that's okay, and that's not a very good record. And we're not, we're not the exception of the families that are experiencing this in the community. It's the rule.
Peter Panashaway has always been a voice for his people, a protester, former Grand Chief, federal MP, and the first Innu cabinet minister.
I, Peter Panashaway.
But his latest campaign saw him ditch politics and peaceful protests in favor of a crowbar.
So this house in grayish color is the house we bought for Ben, and now it's a drugstore.
Windows boarded up.
Yeah.
The Panashaways hope this house could be a fresh start for their son, would help him get back on his feet and be a father again. Instead, they say at the depths of his addiction, it was traded away for cash and cocaine.
And suddenly it was becoming like a drug house, and they got themselves barred right in. And I was getting so frustrated, and you can't burn the house down. We're like, what are you going to do, right?
Last winter, he'd had enough. Panashaway wanted the new owner out, threatened on social media that he'd start smashing windows if he didn't leave.
And I said, watch how quickly they arrest me. Watch how quickly the RCMP are going to show up to arrest me.
Peter Panashaway, former federal cabinet minister, facing criminal charges for mischief. But he didn't care.
Up to that point, nothing was happening. There's obviously a crisis in the community, and I don't get a sense that people see it as a crisis. I don't sense that our CMP are seeing it as a crisis. Every time I've spoken to them, they're going for the big fish. Well, forget about trying to catch the big fish. Go after the people that are actually selling it in the community and who are pushing it.
So if you're looking for cocaine, that's where you go and buy it?
The man Peter is accusing says that's not true. He spoke to CBC after the incident and denied being a drug dealer. But 7 months later, the RCMP came knocking.
I would like to commend our police officers from Happy Valley Goose Bay and Sheshatshiu RCMP detachments for their exceptional work during Project Beehive.
17 of those little fish were arrested in a major sweep of central Labrador. The man who allegedly tangled with the Panashaways charged with trafficking cocaine. Police seized cash, meth, heroin, even nitazene, a strong synthetic opioid. But there was something about that cocaine that took even the most seasoned investigators by surprise. Inspector David Emberley heads up the RCMP's organized crime unit in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Sometimes we see him in a vacuum seal bag. I've seen him done in black rubber, but most of the time, from my experience, they're done in tape like this.
A kilo of cocaine used to be a rare find for his team, but not anymore.
In 2009, when I started in drug section, if we seized a kilo of cocaine, that was a big seizure. Since then, the amount of cocaine that we're seizing has gone up dramatically. The other thing I've noticed is that we're finding guns on almost every search warrant that we do.
There was a dangerous discovery in that Labrador bust. Packaged baggies of ready-to-sell cocaine, Emberley says had the same deadly potential as a loaded gun.
Everything we seized was between 94 and 96% pure cocaine, which is unheard of. Only a couple of years ago, the cocaine that the user would buy on the street, say they bought a gram, typically would be 15%, but within the last couple of years, we're regularly now seizing cocaine at the street level, gram level. It's 94, 96%.
What does that mean? For starters, more people ending up here, in the morgue of Newfoundland and Labrador's chief coroner, Dr. Nash Dennick.
What individuals have to know that cocaine is still most dangerous drug. And the reason being that we don't have an antidote. We have individuals who are dying on the scene with a couple of vials of Narcan used with no recovery, meaning that they may have fentanyl on board, but they also may have a cocaine. And the cocaine is going to be the substance that's going to kill the individual.
This isn't just a problem in Sheshatshiu. Newfoundland and Labrador has seen a sharp increase in accidental drug deaths, a 221% spike in 10 years. Now look at cocaine, an increase of over 1,000% in the same time frame. While the rest of the country has been focused on fentanyl, cocaine remains the biggest killer in Newfoundland and Labrador. Dr. Dennick performs autopsies on each of these people, and then he picks up the phone.
Those conversations are difficult because on the other side of that line, you have a desperate next of kin, being mom, dad, sister, or a child, and they usually ask themselves why, and could we have done differently?
For years, experts have warned about substances mixed with cocaine, but Emberley says it's the purity that now poses the biggest risk. As parts of Canada deal with the fentanyl crisis, Newfoundland and Labrador is facing an influx of strong and deadly cocaine. We called on the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime to learn more. Are we actually seeing more cocaine?
Yes, it's very clear. Cocaine production has been exploding in the last couple of years, particularly in Colombia. Colombia is right now flooding the markets. It's flooding the markets of Europe. It's flooding the markets in Africa. It's flooding the markets in Asia. And it also goes to North America and here including Canada.
Cocaine comes from the coca plant, It's mainly grown in 3 countries: Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru, with the vast majority coming from Colombia. The days of Pablo Escobar may be over, but cocaine and its reign of terror continue. There was hope in 2016 when the Colombian government signed a peace agreement with the Revolutionary Army controlling much of the cocaine trade. But that failed when the government went back on its promises to compensate coca farmers to switch to other crops. The cartels flooded in, violence resumed, and cocaine production skyrocketed. With the markets flooded, Peachman says dealers no longer need to dilute their products to maximize their profits. Where a kilo used to be split 5 or 6 ways, it's now being sold as is.
For many years, it has been almost, I would not say undetected, but it was not spoken about. People spoke about fentanyl, I think for very good reasons, and fentanyl is a serious, serious problem. But by looking at fentanyl, people were somehow overlooking the kind of traditional drug of cocaine, which continues and does play a very serious problem in many countries, including Canada, including your province.
Opioids like fentanyl still outrank stimulants like cocaine as the deadliest drugs in Canada. But stimulant deaths, the majority from cocaine, are rising at a faster rate, 146% from 2019 to 2023. Cocaine bound for Canada usually lands in Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, or the United States. From there, it can travel by air, ship, or land, arriving in central locations like Montreal, where it moves east and west to far-reaching corners of the country. Canada's goal is to stop smugglers before they reach our shores. In the middle of a vast Caribbean dreamscape, HMCS Margaret Brooke is the only ship for miles around. At least, the only one that's visible. This is Operation Carib, Canada's effort to cut down on the surge of cocaine moving through the Caribbean.
If we're going to catch anything, if we're going to pounce, today is our day to pounce. Okay?
On a mission last winter, then Commanding Officer Nicole Robichaud led a team of about 90 sailors, patrolling south of the Dominican Republic, acting on tips from American and Canadian planes, or intel from the 20 countries and countless agencies working together in the region. Sometimes, it's as simple as spotting something on a set of binoculars. That was the case on one clear day when a sailor catches sight of a boat about 10 miles out. HMCS Margaret Brooke is a floating platform for American law enforcement agents. That means when the ship spots a suspicious vessel, it's the Americans who get off and pursue it. Now, given the dangerous nature of the work and the vindictive nature of the cartels, we've agreed not to use their names or show their faces.
So we put that boat in the water, and as that boat went and closed the Go Fast, Margaret Brooke came behind, and we were going and keeping lookout just in case we saw anything that was discarded from the Go Fast, and they had actually gone and jettisoned all of their contraband.
The team recovers 12 packages from the water, weighing in at about 510 kilograms, a whopping $17 million worth of cocaine. The drugs and prisoners were transferred to a U.S. Coast Guard ship and sent to Florida. Their boat sunk by gunfire in the middle of the night. The mission doesn't end there. As a new day begins, so does the next search.
Good morning, Margaret Brooke. Today's weather forecast.
It's like hunting for a needle in a haystack, and there's more needles out here than ever before. A Customs and Border Patrol plane spots a small boat heading towards the Dominican Republic. It's not pinging on the radar or reporting its location. The Margaret Brooke begins to mobilize.
Revolution's 130.
Okay, team, listen up. This one's a little bit of a different situation than our last hit. We are creeping up from ahead of the target vice astern. The target will be able to see us and probably evade us. 02, ice radar?
So red 9.
A rigid inflatable boat, otherwise known as a rib, is lowered into the water. The U.S. Coast Guard team is on board. The team in the rib radios back to the ship with questions for the Maritime Patrol Aircraft, or MPA, overhead.
Want to know if you can ask the MPA if they have any indicia of nationality and if they see any Muslims on board. Over.
Papa 16, this is father. Negative, MPA is departed, over.
The aircraft has already left the area, leaving the team flying in blind. And the bad news continues. The rib has lost an engine. It's floundering in the water. Then, a spark of hope. A sailor spots the target vessel passing in the distance.
Oh shit, yeah, there it is. I see it, yeah.
Barely visible to our cameras, a boat is struggling through heavy waves. 2 men on board, hammered by 3-meter swells.
15 to port wheel on, sir. Very good.
The Margaret Brook, a 100-meter ship with a top speed of just 32 kilometers per hour, is now in the race.
Midships.
As the Canadians close in on the flailing target, the smugglers make a calculated decision.
What's that? Package in the water, starboard side. Ah.
They're ditching their cargo, forcing the captain to make a split-second decision: keep up the chase or slow down to recover what could be millions of dollars worth of cocaine.
Okay, let's come down in speed. Stop our turn.
The captain chooses recovery. It doesn't pay off. The smugglers have thrown out decoys, not bricks of cocaine, but empty gas cans. Not the result the team had hoped for.
That one hurt a little bit, and I think the entire crew felt it because it was so close. It was so close. But unfortunately, that vessel did get away. Yeah, it hurt.
In this part of the ocean, risky and desperate decisions are made. These traffickers aren't typically hardened criminals, the crew tells us. Some low-level gang members, others vulnerable people with few choices.
It's not easy going and crossing over 200 miles in an open-faced boat with 2 outboard engines. Most of it in the dead of night, so you don't get captured. Underneath a tarp in the sweltering heat, so once again, you don't get captured, you don't get seen. It's extreme for what people are doing in order to go and make a living or to provide for their families.
It's a desperation that's being felt at both sides of the supply chain. This is Appenum's Camp, day 1 of an 8-week residential treatment program. The counselors, all in recovery themselves, saw record demand this winter. 30 people signed up to live together and hopefully leave sober. There's companionship, 3 square meals, and music. Pashinish Panashaway, now a counselor here, sought treatment from this program 4 years ago. Since then, the town's drug problem has only gotten worse.
Saw you across the pond, and all I could see is color blue. I was really messed up, but through my recovery, I put a lot of work into it.
The group gathered this morning and made a list of people they'd lost to drugs. They came up with 27 names, all under the age of 40, who had died in the last 2 years. a staggering number for a town of 2,000 people.
We don't want to keep seeing our people die because of drugs and alcohol, And it's, our people are hurting. And they use that to escape their pain, They think that's the only way out. That's all they know. And, this is like, shows them, there is a way out. You're not alone.
Off camera, several people at the camp told us about the problems they've had with drug dealers, infiltrating NA meetings, pulling people back into addiction to line their own pockets, and threatening those who go against them. Peter and Marianne Panashwe know this all too well after a frightening encounter involving their daughter and a dispute over money.
There was one time that she was picked up by this person, and she was threatened that she was going to get beat up and driven outside the community. When she called me, she was like just screaming, like hysterically, like crying. And she called from someone's house that she ran into because she got out of the car. As a mother, I panicked. And I called out to Peter. I said, go pick up our daughter, like right now. You don't expect that to happen in a small community, to get threatened by this man who was selling drugs.
It's that human toll that weighs on Inspector David Emberley. Every purchase, he says, props up a deadly industry.
When people are buying, a half gram or a gram, they are supporting a whole network of organized crime groups between South America and here. You're dealing with violence and, intimidation and weapons, and we see that right here in our own province.
It is frustrating, but it's more frustrating looking at these bodies of young individuals who are in their primes and thinking about the full life being in front of them, and they're here on my autopsy table.
On a bitter cold morning in January, Peter Panashwe had his day in court. The mischief charges were dropped in exchange for a peace bond. The man Panashwe calls a drug dealer is still living in his son's former house.
Any interest in meeting Maisie? Sitters.
You want to take your medicine now?
For Peter and Marianne Panashwe, this is what's at stake.
Good. Good job.
Bye, Papa.
Good job.
My Papa kissed me! Papa! My Papa kissed me! My Papa kissed me!
And they'll do everything they can to protect it.
Take my hand, we'll make it out alive. You and I'll stay with me, you're all I need.
And I hope people who wants to see the community change that are living here as well, I want them to have courage and not to be afraid, because it's for our kids and grandkids.